Should we talk about the German thing? Is that next? Maybe? Yeah, the failed German coup. Oh god. This story is fucking mental. So, your country. Finally, think this is the guy who looks like David Starkey, the English fucking deranged right-wing historian who's like obsessed with Tudors and shit. So, okay, where do we start? So, there's a German extremist group called Reichsburger. I have no fucking idea, whatever. Um, translates to citizens of the Reich. And they were hmm, they were planning an event called Day X where they wanted to overthrow the German government. They had plans to kidnap the health minister. They have about 21,000 members, 10% at least of whom are violent. They refuse to pay taxes. They don't recognize the modern German state. They're not, at least on paper, a Nazi group, believe it or not. They are riddled with anti-Semitism and other conspiracy theories, but they were kind of like grown a lot off of the back of COVID-19 and QAnon conspiracies. They That's kind of where they gathered a lot of their recruits from. Their ideology, as far as I know, is that they refuse to recognize the modern German state because they want to go back to a 1871 like revival of the Second Reich. like, like fucking Bismarck and shit. They have their own military wing. They have like a health, justice, and foreign affairs department. They like, and 25 of their main people were arrested across 11 German states. One of the guys, this guy here, is like a minor German aristocrat called Heinrich the Eighth, fucking Henry the Eighth and shit. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, they wanted to kidnap the health minister and shit. And they wanted to set up their alternative forms of government. And they've already like, yeah, 21,000 members. They've already been engaged in lots of violent attacks. And yeah, they're like, again, I don't think they're like de facto Nazis, but they're very anti-Semitic and just a bunch of other shit. Like, yeah. After January 6th, I take a lot of these groups as more serious threats. Yeah. My celery actually was telling me that it was doing like an essay or like the last module of its research in uni was about fascist movements in Europe. First of all, going through like 14 points of fascism to decide which groups were fascist and which ones weren't. So like, you know, Trump obviously matches 14 points like very well, but going through like Le Pen or AFD or the Italian people or Le Pen and just seeing like how fascistic each group is, but also how threatening they are to the democratic systems of the country. I think Le Pen, for example, is like one of the most threatening ones because the French constitution actually allows presidents to seize like an obscene amount of power as some I think it's some kind of leftover from either from the French Revolution or from Napoleon. There's something about the French Constitution that's just like you really don't want a fascist president ever getting near that power. I don't remember what it was though, but yeah. Is it analyzing Vox Bulla? It might be. I am Lebanese. And I did have that debate with that Israeli guy where I had to clarify at the end that I wasn't a Hezbollah simp because I was talking about how much the IDF underestimated their military tactics in 2006. I remember that. Yeah. Fucking Nasrallah standing on a soapbox bragging about how he had like kept the limbs of dead Israelis as fucking trophies and shit. Oh god. Not a big Hezbollah fan? No, not really. Bit fucking they're a bit out there, you know. Article 25 and 48 in the Weimar Constitution? I don't know what those are. Let's look at the news story about it. Hezbollah, but hey, quiet, Beckett. No memes. This is serious. Box Bullah might be under threat from the British state. We have to be more careful. Oh, hey, Warthongs. Oh, it's you. Yeah, you're the one I spoke to about Hezbollah. Oh, no. Shit. Yeah. I should probably check in every now and then about how my Hezbollah memes are with my with my Jewish viewers. Fuck me. I'm sorry. Oh God. I really don't like Hezbollah. Okay, I fucking hate them. All right. Just cool. Haven't been here in a while. What did I miss? Nothing much, you know. Bit of this, bit of that. Bit of genocide denial, bit of Holocaust revisionism, bit of Hezbollah, you know, same old. Maruzzi, watch F-Bombs for You tomorrow. I think I'm going to be having a chat with him about the Southern strategy and money in politics. Also, I enjoyed fucking your dad last night. True. Yeah, okay. Yeah. I don't know anything about F-Bombs for You. I feel like they used to be in my chat a lot, but then they're not anymore. I don't know. Maybe they flipped on something. As far as I know, I think they're a pretty left-wing person. So pretty far left, like online far left. He streams a lot now. All right. All right. Germany arrests 25 accused of plotting to overthrow the government. Let's go, BBC.
Germany next. Police have made 25 arrests against members of a far-right terror group suspected of planning an attack on Parliament. More than
Thanks, Dreadhead, for the tier 1 sub. Really appreciate that.
3,000 officers took part in early morning raids. Let's go live to Berlin. We can speak to our correspondent, Damien McGuinness. Great to have you with us, Damien. This is quite an exceptional story. And talk our viewers through what we know so far.
Violent overthrow of the government? Wait, what's her accent? Wait, I was about to be really insensitive there.
Damien McGuinness. Great to have you with us, Damien. This is quite an exceptional story.
She's Irish, isn't she? I was going to say, violent overthrow of the government, never heard of it, but she's Irish, so she probably has heard of it.
Talk our viewers through what we know so far.
Yeah, well, this is the largest anti-terror raid Germany has ever known, Nuala. So what we're talking about are 3,000 officers nationwide, dozens of raids, including in army barracks. And that's because this is a far-right group known as Reichsbürger, and literally translated...
You want to know how many subs to get me to read the fanfic? You don't actually need to give me subs, Becca. I'll just do it, okay? Settle down. But give me subs anyway, okay? I love you.
Citizens of the Reich. And what they believe in, they want to undermine the modern German state. They want to overthrow the government, and they want to found a state based on the German Empire, or Reich, from 1871. Now, this is a very fringe movement, potentially a very violent movement, and that's why officers have taken this so seriously, because some of the people involved in this movement, some of the people arrested, the 25 people arrested, were former officers, former soldiers. One of them was a former member of the National Parliament here in Berlin. She was working as a...
Oh, was it AFD member? Was that...
judge until she was arrested. There was also a minor aristocrat who is thought to be the ringleader of this. This movement has some quite high-profile figures, some of whom are armed, some of whom have access to weapons, and that's why it's being taken incredibly seriously. Although it also has to be said, Nuala, that there aren't any indications that this plan would have been successful. This is a very radical group, but also a very fringe group. They've been going for decades, since the 80s, and even though they're armed, and even though there are outbreaks of violence regularly, they're not seen as an imminent threat to the German state, in the sense that this is something where there have been any injuries so far in this particular plot or anyone's died in this plot, but it's being taken seriously enough to show, really, that nationwide raids have been merited. And, you know, we've seen dozens of arrests so far, and more are likely to come.
It's so interesting. I'm sure people, Damien, will start pointing out parallels that they may see with the United States if we think of some of the more far-right groups, particularly in the aftermath of the January 6th attack on the US Capitol. I mean, is online a big part of this group? Are they very well known? What their, I don't know, membership or motives are?
Yeah, it is interesting. There are links to the US conspiracy movement QAnon. This movement, the Reichsbürger movement, the Citizens of the Reich movement, goes back to the 80s. So this has been going for decades. We have times in Germany where they seem to be more active, other times.
Hey, Seamstar, thanks for the gift of tier 1 sub. Really appreciate that. Wow, 1 minute 30 to the hype train, guys. Imagine getting a hype train. Maybe if I get a hype train, I might just read the Beckett of Crabs fanfic. Who knows?
When they seem to be less active. What we've seen over the last few years, and particularly during the pandemic, is that all sorts of different groups, very disparate groups, including anti-vaxxers, COVID deniers, far-right extremists, all coalescing around this Reichsbürger movement. In a way, really, to
God, I feel like he's pronounced that word in 3 different ways now.
You laughed in the face of your last interlocutor on this issue.
Oh, fuck, I was joking. Okay, thank you, Beckett of Crabs, for the tier 1 sub, Gifty. I really appreciate it.
Say that the German state is not legitimate. And I think there are links to the US, this idea of a deep state. What the people of this movement talk about, they say that Germany isn't a real country. Modern Germany is, in fact, a company, a firm, they call it, that's run by the US or by the Allies. And they say that the real Germany is the one that was before the First World War. And that's what they want to get back to. They don't recognize the German state. These people refuse to pay taxes. Regularly, you have shootouts with police in houses in some parts of Germany. So this is something that does ebb and flow. But I think the fact that there's been so much going on in the US connected to certain conspiracy theories, and particularly linked to the pandemic, and you know, a small but radical movement within Germany of people who say that the vaccine is the problem and not COVID itself. And even though these groups are very small and very...
Isn't it scary to think that, like, this kind of crackpottery it's the kind of thing that people get sucked into when they're in a pretty vulnerable state.
You laughed in the face
like,
of your last interlocutor.
Pandemic obviously escalated that quite a lot for a lot of people. Like, I mean, I feel like I've brought this up in chat before. Doesn't everyone in chat know at least a couple of people who just completely fell off the rails during the pandemic? And now with cost of living being the way it is, like, if that just doesn't stop for the next 5-10 years, like, yeah, they're gonna be fuck. That's really scary. Yeah.
Fringe. Some of them are quite radical, and what we're seeing, according to police today, and
imagine Noah's, yeah.
Certainly, according to what we've seen over the last few years, is that some of these people are prepared to use violence to do what they think is the right thing, which they believe they want to overthrow the German state. They just don't believe in the legitimacy of modern Germany. That's why they're seen as such a danger.
Damien, thank you so much for giving us that analysis and understanding, really, of what's happening in Germany.
And the pronunciations. Amazing. Damn, look at all that. Magos Informaticus, thanks for the tier 1 sub. Radical Liberal Loner Box reads fan fiction on stream. True.